Your friendly neighborhood YouTuber is rated PG-13. Parental advisory, explicit content. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, what's up everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood YouTuber guys, and we are back here again with another action figure review? Action figure tutorial? Or should I say how-to tutorial? If you guys are accustomed to watch my channel, you guys know I love customizing action figures. Specifically action figures that don't meet my requirements, action figures that I really like, that I feel like could add an extra special touch to them. So today we are going to customize this Iceman. So this is kind of like a customization tutorial video. And really all you're going to need to customize this Iceman, to make him look more like this Iceman, this Sub-Zero Iceman, and less like this Marvel Legend right here. So there's a surfboard. All you're going to need today, guys, is a paintbrush and paint. Specifically blue paint, light blue paint, to customize this Iceman. Whatever you prefer, whatever kind of paint you want to use, it doesn't really matter. My specific type is acrylic, because our acrylic seems to be a little bit more permanent, and if you want, you can go over it with a matte gloss to make it permanent. Now I have a few, as you guys know, I'm an artist, so I use a lot of different kind of paint. So I have a few paints here and there from different stores. You can go to Michael's or Joann Fabrics, or go to your local store and you can buy these kinds of paints. But I want to use different colors of paints to paint this Iceman and give him the look that he deserves, and not this crappy piece of shit that you guys see in front of you. Alright, so let's get to the customization. So this is going to be kind of a step-by-step. I'm going to unbox this Iceman, and then I'm going to customize him in front of you guys. So let's rip this out. I love the X-Men box, but fortunately this X-Men is going to have to come out. And the only figure that I really picked up from this wave, or actually I picked up two figures from this wave that I really like, the Cyclops and the Storm. The other figures I don't really care for. I mean, you can get them for cheap right now. I really do like that Silver Samurai, but I have so many Marvel Legends, man. It's just, I just want to buy the figures that I want to buy. And specifically X-Men figures. So if you guys have been watching my videos, you know I've slowly been building up my Marvel Legends X-Men team. He's one of the figures that I've been missing. I wanted to pick up the older version of Iceman because I feel like that Iceman was done better. But I still like the classic overall look of this Iceman. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to customize this son of a bitch. I was going to say motherfucker, but son of a bitch works just as well. So he does come with his base, and hopefully we can make him look a little bit more like the color of his base. Alright. So let's get Iceman out the package. And if you guys didn't see any of my other customizations figures that I've done reviews. This is kind of my first tutorial video, so we'll go ahead and I'll show you guys the step-by-step process of customizing this Iceman. So I'm trying to loosen up all of his joints, so this way when I paint over it, it won't be as stuck. So I'm testing out all his joints, making sure they are working, arms going up and down. And that's another thing too, is you want to test out your figure before you customize them, because you don't want to customize an action figure that might be broken or that might be fragile. So it's good to test out all of his joints, and all of his joints look pretty solid. He's a pretty nice figure. Now, the figure in which we're going to do, he's not going to look exactly like this beautiful, detailed Sub-Zero Iceman, because this Sub-Zero Iceman is more clear and see-through. As you guys can see, he's made with a blue clear plastic, and then they went over the blue clear plastic with white to kind of give him a frosty look. This is going to come out kind of the opposite way, because he already has kind of a frosted look over him. So we're going to put the blue paint on top of the frosted look, and hopefully he turns out great, because I don't know how he's going to turn out. Like I said, this is just kind of a learning experience for myself, a step-by-step learning experience for myself. So most likely he's going to come out looking better than this right here. Okay, guys, so let's get like a little piece of paper here. All I need is really just a piece of paper right here, and we'll get some paint. Pour the paint onto the piece of paper right there. You don't need much, just maybe like a little dab. It's kind of like a darker blue, but we'll worry about that when we worry about that. Here is this a little bit more of a liquidy paint right here, so I'm going to add that to this paper right here, just a little touch, and see how that's kind of like a lighter blue. The reason why I want to mix it is because I don't want them to have two colors. I kind of want them to have numerous blues going throughout this Iceman. So we're not mixing the colors, we're just kind of putting the colors side by side. And this paint might be a little bit dry. And if it doesn't come out, yeah, it seems like it's dried up. Okay, so we'll use these colors right here. As you can see, they're not mixed. One is more liquidy than the other, but that doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of dab it on paintbrush. Just a little bit. And then I'm sure you guys heard the term dry brushing, right? So that's what we're going to do with this Iceman. So we're just going to kind of add a little bit of blue, not go over it too hard, and just kind of dry brush the blue onto this Iceman to give him more of a blue effect. Dab here and there. Like I said, if you want to mix the blue, or if you guys have a specific blue that you guys want to use, you can. It's really up to you. It's really up to your preference. So there's the blue going onto him. And we're just kind of dabbing the blue onto him like so. This is kind of the darker blue. And it might take a few times for you to go over the Iceman. Now what you don't want to do is you don't really want to leave the splotches on there. You want to try to get it evenly throughout his body. So you don't want to leave any of these splotches. If you do, it's really up to you. I mean, and try not to get them on the white belt. If you do, then you can always easily wipe that off. So we take some of the blue and then we brush it off, and then we blend it onto the rest of his arms. Now you see how it's starting to take shape, take shade, and take shade. Is we're kind of dry brushing the blue onto his silver body to kind of give it like a cold effect. And really, the colors are mixing as I'm brushing the colors onto his body. So you have the light blue and then the dark blue that's mixing onto his body. And really, it's up to you guys. If you want it like light blue, like the Iceman over there, you can. It's really up to you what your preference is and what you want it to be. So, and you don't have to be an artist like myself. I don't consider myself a great artist. You just gotta know what you want. There's my camera. It's falling. It's slipping. It's slipping because this is a slippery. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery review. Hence, Iceman. So we're just kind of brushing, putting the blue onto his body like so. And like I said, just put it onto his body, and then when you put it onto his body, go over the parts where you feel you need the blue to be. Like I said, don't worry about getting it onto his white belt because you can always brush it off. We'll go onto the top of his head. And like I said, if you want to leave some blue parts on his body to make it look like he's cold, then you can do that. It's really up to you how you want to detail your Iceman. And make sure that you don't get heavy paint into the parts of his cracks right there, because you don't want your figure to get stuck. You still want your figure to be articulated. So as you guys can see, he's coming along. He's starting to have some blue, get a blue touch to him. A blue pearlescent. Put some more blue onto his arm and then onto his leg. And then you want, when you do his face, what you guys want to do is get some of this blue off and then go up to his face and then kind of like how you watch your girlfriend or your mom, if you don't have a girlfriend, watch how she applies makeup onto her face. She lightly brushes it onto her face. Maybe that's a bad example, but maybe if you guys have ever seen that, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Or if you guys have a girlfriend or a mom or a woman in your life, then maybe she can give you some hinters on how to apply makeup. So this is just kind of an artist technique. Like I said, every time you guys watch like a toy review or a toy reviewer say, oh, he went over with dry brushing, this is kind of what it means. Is just taking a little bit of paint and then blending it onto the figure and then dry brushing the blue paint, or dry brushing the paint over the figure. And you want to get his butt as well. And I think using this kind of like ocean blue, get his butt crack, kind of helps a little bit, because if you were to get any more lighter blue, it would probably blend in with the silver look that this Iceman already has. And then go down his legs, in between his legs, get his crotch. Yes, this is graphic. I apologize. And get in between there as well, because you don't want any blue bleeding into his cracks. If you do, it's really up to you if you want the blue bleeding into his cracks, but you try to keep it out of these crevices right here, the pins. So let's grab the top of his head. You guys can use tweezers if you don't want to use your fingers. You can always use tweezers to hold his head. And then get the rest of his blue on the paper so you can do his shins, his feet, his kneecaps. I might have to add some more blue, and so on and so forth. Get his crotch area, kind of dust it like you're dusting, if you guys have ever dusted before. Add a little bit more to his head. Flip him over, and then you can do the calf muscles. I'm going to need a little bit more paint. So let me fast forward, guys. Let me do a little bit more touch-ups, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. Alright guys, so another thing that you can use, which I forgot to mention, which I should have brought up in the beginning, is you can actually use a stand, an action figure stand, to put him on, so this way he can stand properly as you're putting the blue onto him. And like I said, if you want to add more blue to him and leave some of the blue in the crevices of his body to give him more of a blue icy effect, you can do that if you want to. It's really up to you how you want your Iceman to be. If you want him really, really blue, well, don't paint him really, really blue. Like I said, just dry brush him. You don't want to make him blue because you're going to turn him into a blue guy. So you don't want to turn him, Iceman, into a blue guy. You just want to have the ice effect to make him look like he's icy. But you still want to keep the silver on him. You still want to keep the silver effect on the Iceman. So you don't want to paint him completely blue. Like I said, remember, dry brushing. Kind of like applying makeup. And you want to touch up these areas really quick too. So where you put the paint at onto the figure, you want to touch them up and dry brush it really quickly, because the paint will dry and you'll get this effect where you'll see like a little piece of blue hanging on there, kind of like you're seeing now. So you can easily wipe that away and then blend it into the rest of his plastic skin. And one thing about dry brushing too is don't worry about getting paint on your hands. If you want to wear gloves, you can wear gloves. But don't worry about getting paint on your hands, because when you dry brush them, the paint doesn't really come off. When you dry brush it, that's the point of dry brushing, is when you apply the paint and you apply the paint over his body, the paint dries really, really quickly, because it's called dry brushing. You blend it into his plastic body, and the dry brushing dries really quickly. So there is the Iceman already taking the blue effect. As you guys can see, there's some blue parts on his body that are more bluer than others. It's really up to you what you want to do, as far as if you want to put more blue up onto his body or up onto his head. You can possibly do that. As you can see, Iceman died of boredom, so he passed out there. So really, as you guys can see, there's more blue on his thighs. It's really up to you where you want to put it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more blue on his head, like so. Put some more blue onto his crotch area, and then right above the belt. And don't worry, like I said, about getting blue on the belt. You can easily wipe it off, or you can just get some white paint to go over the blue that you get onto the white belt. You want to get under his chest, under his arms, and make sure that you do get under his arms, because you'll miss those as well. So you want to get in every inch of his body. That's why I say to get his crotch as well, and then under his crotch, like so. And then you want to go back to the top of his head, blend the blue into his head. And if you want to, not get white in his eyes, blue in his eyes, then you don't have to. Just be careful. Or if you want to give it that icy effect, you can get blue in his eyes if you don't really care. It's really up to you. You don't have to be picky. It's Iceman. And get some more blue onto his body, onto his back leg, and then into his crotch, into his inner thighs. So a lot of people, customizers out there, they forget to get those areas. I think we all, as human beings, we all forget about those troubled areas. When we're working out, is we forget about the between the thighs and other parts of the body when we're working out, because we don't think about it. We don't think about those troubled areas. So I don't mean to sound like Bob Ross here, but just to give you guys life advice on body and health. But yeah, sometimes we don't pay attention to what we're focusing on when we're trying to better ourselves as human beings. Now, like I said, don't worry about the white right there. It's really, you can always go over with that with a white paintbrush. But here is the blue Iceman looking very icy. You want to add a little bit more blue underneath his arms. You can do that. Blend that. And he's starting to look like an Iceman. And just touch up some places where you feel like you've missed. Dry brush it. Don't get a lot of paint on your brush, but if you do, then just mix it around and onto the parts of his skin where you feel that there's no blue. So there you guys have an Iceman. Not much to it. Took me not even 15 minutes to do this blue Iceman. So here is the blue Iceman right here, standing next to the other blue Iceman, and he looks like Iceman, doesn't he? Let's give you guys a closer look of this Iceman. So here he is, a more closer look of the blue Iceman. And there's other techniques too, guys, to make the ice look a little bit more realistic. If you guys want to, you guys can get some more white paint, add some white paint onto the blue, which I'll show you coming up after this. Alright guys, so I got a little bit of white paint right here. This is pretty much the same paint, it's just a different brand, Liquitex Basics white color. And so what I did is I just added a little bit of white right there, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the blue. Take a little bit of white, and if I want to, I can go ahead and mix it with the blue to give it more of a blue effect. And I'm just going to lightly go over the body. Light effect. If you want to, you can mix it with a little bit of water, but what I'm trying to do is mix it with some blue and go over his body like that. Like I said, you can water this down if you want to, and make sure you don't get a lot on there. You still want to keep some of the blue on there, but you still want to have an ice effect as well. So lightly go over his body. Now if you put too much white onto him, kind of like I did with his chest area, but don't worry about that, because like I said, you can always go over it with blue. So what you're doing now is you're just kind of touching it up, getting some of that white paint off, and then blending it with the blue, and then going over his body once again, dry brushing. So don't worry about it mixing with the blue, because the blue is already somewhat dried. Some parts it's not, but that doesn't matter because it's going to give you the same effect anyways. Because when the blue mixes with the white, it's going to give you a different shade of blue. So yeah, don't worry about mixing the colors. That's a part of being an artist. That's the part of giving that effect, is mixing the colors. That's kind of what water is. And then you throw some white onto his body. Let me give you guys a better close-up look. So I'm just kind of throwing some of the white onto his body, like so. And then you come back, and when you get some of the white paint off, you just kind of blend the white paint back with the brush that doesn't have that much white paint on it, the side of the brush that doesn't have much white paint on it. It's pretty simple. And don't feel like you guys have messed up, because don't think of it as that way. Don't think of it as messing up. Just think of it as like, oh, if I messed up, if I put too much white there, then you can always go over it with some blue paint. So see how the tip right here has some of the blue and the white? It doesn't matter. Put some of that on his foot, shin area, thighs, back, and then there's this back right there. So you can add some blue and some white to the back, go up to his head, add some white onto his head, and you still have some blue on the tip of the brush. So you can bring that forward if you want to. Mix it. If you don't want to get crazy, add some details onto his face, add some white onto his face. Remember, you still have the blue on there. And just slightly go over it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, because water, like ice, is not perfect. There's a lot of different dimensions to water and ice, and so on and so forth. So he's starting to look more and more like this guy right here. And notice how the silver is still there. Now, it really just depends on you guys how much paint you want to add to this Iceman. I think he's starting to look more and more icy. If you want to get more in depth, you can add more layers of paint. If you don't really care too much for the silver, you can try to get the silver out. It's really up to you. I try to leave the silver in there to still have that icy look. So it's just more than one color. It's more than just silver. It's white and it's blue, and it's different shades of blue. That's what ice is. It's different shades of blue. Even though water itself is not blue, water is clear, but because of the sunlight, because of the atmosphere, because of all the chemicals in it and that surrounds it, gives it a blue effect. Kind of like when the sun hits the moon. The moon is not really blue. It's just because of the atmospheric. I don't mean to sound scientific, but because of the atmospheric levels and the gravity and actually I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about now. I think I've lost myself. I'm trying to be a little bit too scientific. Yeah, and the atmosphere and the air and everything. And make sure you get his hands as well and his knuckles. Add some blue onto his knuckles. It gives off that effect. It has a lot to do with the earth. That's all I know. And make sure you get inside the butterfly joints. You see how you open his butterfly joints? So you want to get into his butterfly joints. Don't forget about those open areas, guys. Get in there and then add some more blue for his butterfly joints. Don't worry about them being perfect because they're not going to be perfect. It's really up to you. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video, you know. But that's what happens when you do a tutorial video. You forget shit. And so what you want to do, so there's this belt. So what you want to do is take some of this white, go over the belt with the white, and then cover up that blue. And don't worry about getting the white onto his body, because like I said, if you do that, then you can go over it with more white paint or more blue paint. It's really up to you. So you see how I got some white there? So what we can do to cover that up is go back to the blue, get some of the blue paint, and then take that white out of there and blend it into the rest of his body. So make sure the joints are loose, they don't get stuck, so you want to bring the joints back in. Let's take the Iceman off the step, and there you guys have it. There is the blue Iceman. Like I said, you guys can get a little bit more deep in detail. If you want to add some more white over the blue, it's really up to you. But I think I like the Iceman the way he is. And like I said, if you want to make this paint more permanent, you can get some matte spray, spray it over him. It's kind of like a sealer. This way the paint won't rub off and it won't have that dry effect. It'll have a nice little glossy effect to it, and it'll probably make it shine a little bit more as well. Alright guys, so there was my little tutorial of Iceman, and as you can see, most of the paint is already dry on this figure. As you guys can see, there's no paint coming off because this is kind of acrylic. You guys make sure to get the abs as well. And there was my little tutorial of the Iceman. Customizing your own Iceman, making Iceman the way he's supposed to look. If you want to add some more white detail, like I said, similar to this guy, then you can. It's really up to you on how you want your Iceman to look. Alright guys, so there is my little tutorial video. If you guys like this little review, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to receive more cool, epic reviews, tutorial videos like this. And there's your classic Iceman, guys. I hope you liked this little video. And we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Just want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next review. Bye!